Well, it's official. Rutgers season is officially over. At least as far as making the tournament, we're now 8-7. We lose to Wisconsin, 75-63 at the rack. You know, this game started off kind of disjointed, and I had that kind of feeling. Wisconsin coming off, I think it was a 4-game winning streak, and they hit 21 threes against Iowa, absolutely destroyed them. Offensive juggernaut. And this game started off with Wisconsin hitting shots and Rutgers not hitting shots. We were down 6-0 to start, 10-2. And this had all the hallmarks of a game that Wisconsin was going to run away with. It tightened up in the second half, and we'll get to that in a minute, but nobody was getting going. It was just one of those games where you're watching it and you're trying to figure out what is Rutgers doing. It looked like guys were just hoisting up shots. There were no real offensive sets. You had no idea what they were trying to accomplish, and it was just one of those games, forcing shots. We had that stretch in the first half where we were lucky Wisconsin started to miss shots, and they just didn't run away with the game then. You know, Blackwell had like 13 of Wisconsin's 25 or 26 points, whatever it was. Once again, at least in the first half, probably in the second half as well, I wasn't keeping track by that time. 20 of Wisconsin's first 24 points were in the paint. Said in a brief preview, that we had to play good perimeter defense and Wisconsin couldn't hit their threes, and that we had to make our shots and we couldn't get destroyed in the paint, and we had to have a good transition game, and we couldn't get killed on the boards and not hit our free throws. And most of those things we didn't do. I did say that we had to stretch the rotation and that we had to get some productivity out of the bench. We couldn't just do it with two guys. You know, Ace and Dylan were a non-factor tonight. Ace, not good. 3 for 16 from the field, fouled out. Think he was 3 for 8 from the free throw line, just terrible. Dylan, 0 points. He wound up sitting he must still be under the weather. They sat him on the bench later in the game. You know, Wisconsin started to rebound in the first half with their shooting touch of 58%. You know, when you run your offense through two guys, one has 0 points, the other guy has 3 points, that's not going to get it done. So the second half, we climb back in it. We start to look like an old-style Rutgers team. We climb back into it. It's a 6-point game. We were down 9 at halftime. We eventually would get it down to 3. And then if Ace Bailey could have just hit that turnaround jumper to cut it to 1, we might have had something going on there. Nonetheless, that's as close as it would get. You know, you could just see the tone being set in the first half. Wisconsin shot 58%. We shot 39%. 3 points, you know, Wisconsin wasn't running away with it. They shot 38.5%. Of course, we shot, 28.5%. And we were only out-rebounded 20-16. And then, statistically, those things kind of held up in the second half, and we'll get to that in a minute. You know, when you saw us starting to climb back into it, and we were starting to play defense and starting to grind it out, and it wasn't a high-scoring kind of game, which we've been playing this year, I felt comfortable. It felt like a Rutgers game. I want to say it was, what was it, 58, 55, something around there, where we got the three, and then Ace misses that turnaround jumper. And from that moment on, Wisconsin was able to stretch the lead out. Wisconsin's first free throw came with 3 minutes left in the game. And somehow we still lose. They shoot 84. When we talk about free throws, right? Wisconsin shoots 85% from the free throw line. Obviously, that leads the country. We were terrible. We were 6 for 13, and just keeps getting worse. That's 46%. Wisconsin only shot three for three. So 3-pointers, Wisconsin for the game was 32%. We were 30%. But from the field, they shot 53%. So while they didn't run us out of the building on threes, they still shot well, and we shot 34%. So we had to avoid getting killed in the paint. We got killed in the paint. We had to stick with Wisconsin from hitting our shots from the field. We didn't do that. We didn't hit our free throws. Didn't hit our three-pointers. We were only out-rebounded 42-37. So that's not terrible. And we actually had 8 less turnovers. So when your positives for the game is, well, we only got out-rebounded 42-37, but we had less turnovers, 8-16. That's not a recipe for success. Wisconsin was the more composed team who, when things didn't go well, was able to pull it back together. And they played like we might have played a couple years ago. They defended, made the shots that they had to make down the stretch, and they won the game. The one positive out of this game that I have wanted to see all season, and early on it looked like the bench was going to win this game for us. Leading scorer was Tyson Acuff, 11 points. And he had a couple threes rim out in the first half. Otherwise, not 11 points. He had 17 points. He had a couple 3-point shots in the first half rim out. Otherwise, he would have scored in the 20s. It was good to see some secondary guys get some production, because that's what we're going to need, especially on nights when Ace and Dylan aren't playing well. So Ace had 9 points. Ace and Jamichael both had 9 points. But Tyson Acuff leads with 17 points, 2 rebounds and assists. Jamichael and Ace had 9 points each. Dylan Grant is another revelation. Dylan Grant, hustling, scrappy, getting his face in the action. He played well. He had 8 points. Him and Dirk Hack both had 8 points. Dylan was 0 for 2, 2 rebounds, 0 points. So this is the kind of game, it's a Big Ten kind of game. And for the middle half of the second half, it was classic Big Ten. Guys were hustling, missing shots, rebounding, keeping it close, grinding, playing defense, but in the end, we couldn't make enough plays. And Wisconsin comes away with a double-digit win on the road. So for us, we're 8-7, and I believe we're 1-3 in the Big Ten now. And for all intents and purposes, it's over. I don't even know if there's an NIT bid for us, if we wind up somehow going 17-14. I don't even know that that's something to build on. And if we do lose Ace and Dylan, but I have to say, Dylan's averaging 22 plus a game, but with his style of play, being kind of a rhythmic sort of finesse player on offense and not being a real dominant player on defense, I don't know if that's enough. Ace, a bit erratic. He's too erratic. Coming off a 39-point game. We didn't need him to assume the entire burden for tonight, but it didn't go well for him. He was missing shots, missing free throws, got into foul trouble early. That being said, this disjointed nature of the game, not playing well in certain categories, I liked that it was ugly midway through the second half, because this was the type of game and the type of style we used to play in recent history, where we could win games, but in the end we just couldn't make enough shots, and Wisconsin did. So that's it. 8-7. That leaves us with, I think, 16 games left. Unless we go 12-4, which is not going to happen under any circumstances. This season is over. I'm already starting to think about next year and the future, and what things are going to look like from that standpoint. Are we going to get back to Steve Pickleball? Some of the guys, Dylan Grant tonight, he showed some chutzpah. Tyson Acuff, although I think his eligibility is out after this year. I'm not really sure about that, but I almost rather watch those old Rutgers teams that were scrappy and put in the effort and kept it close, and we just didn't have enough firepower. That's it. We lose at home at the Rack on a snowy Monday. I'd say enjoy your week, but it's never good after a loss. Everybody, will see you the next time.